Do you want to do the freedom?
I do, yes. So in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the December 9th meeting minutes? Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, discussion, arguments? All in favor? Great. Okay. All right. You're on, Molly.
All right, sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on our first meeting of the new year. Yep. Last time we met was in December, and we had a lot of updates then, and I think we have just as many now, actually. So first we want to talk through our membership of this committee. We've had some new members join, and we have a couple members who are whose term is expiring at the end of this year. So put that on people's radar. We also want to talk about the Charleston Resilience Collaborative and the Trident BOAD, the coordination groups we've been starting. Allie's going to give sustainability remarks on the 2025 sustainability report and project updates. And then we have Mika Gadsden here. Thank you, Mika, for being here to share about the Relief Project at the City of Charleston. And then we'll close with outreach events and adjourn. So what is the right way to do this here? All right, so this is what our membership looks like for 2026. So we voted Stuart in as chair for this year and Scott Harris as vice chair. Stuart, your term ends in December.
Right.
And then we have Sally, Adrian, your term is actually up in December too. Our new member, Jacob Gamble. Hey, welcome, Jacob.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we'll go through the rest of this and then I'd love to do an introduction for you. Scott Curtis. With the Citadel, Mr. Middleton is our county council representative again for this year. Kristen Miguez, welcome Kristen, stepping in for Nina from the COG.
And by the way, I saw Nina with a little child.
She's not the most precious. Oh. She is a pretty baby.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's so sweet. And then we have Scott Runyon as well. He just re-upped his term, so that actually needs to be updated, the term start and expiration. He was just voted in again in December. So with that, could we do an introduction for Jacob Gamble? Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. My name's Jacob. It's great to be here with you guys. I am a Somerville native, so I grew up in the Low Country. I've enjoyed, been very blessed to grow up in a place that's beautiful and historic as Charleston. And very excited to be with you all. Went to USC. I've worked in politics and communications for several years before planning at the Chamber of Commerce and placing Diamond Curry, who held the seat before I got here. So very excited to be here with you all. Excited to get to work.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so moving right along. So we're jumping in now to our resilience updates. So I think a number of you were at the Resilience Accelerator workshop in February, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted to give some context for folks that, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with how we got here. So we have a couple of planning efforts that have already taken place to kind of get us to this implementation phase that we want to be in right now. So we developed the hazard vulnerability assessment in back in 2024, October, that kind of lays out what our vulnerabilities and strategies are at the county for addressing, hazards and increasing our resilience. Then last April, we had a workshop that was facilitated by the COG and the Urban Land Institute that kind of identified our guiding principles and implementation strategies for how we're addressing population growth, infrastructure improvements, and climate events. So with that vision in mind, we were then tasked by this committee to kind of host an event with all of the partners who are involved in sustainability and resilience work. So that culminated in the symposium in November. And that symposium had over 180 something attendees. 60 organizations participated. Basically anyone and everyone was invited to this and came, and it was a really successful day. Key leadership also attended. Mr. Middleton was there, giving opening remarks and closing remarks. And then the day ended in a local government practitioners work session, which helped us identify what our barriers were to making that step from planning to implementation. And that's where I want to focus the conversation today. So at the symposium, we identified these barriers to implementation that range anything from poor coordination across jurisdictions to outdated regulatory standards, data gaps, and general resistance to change in infrastructure and green infrastructure solutions. And what we did was we took those barriers from the symposium to the accelerator workshop in February and really dug into them. And we specifically invited local government practitioners to attend that session in February to really kind of narrow in on who's actually doing the work and how we're going to plan to start doing the implementation instead of just kind of stuck in this planning cycle. So at that workshop in February, we had over 40 local government representatives from the county and our municipalities. I think 10 municipalities were there present in person, and then of course the COG and others were representing other folks. So it was a really successful event, and the county's really taking an active role, stepping in here to convene those partners at the county and in local jurisdictions. And again, the point of the day was to talk about how are we collectively going to act on all of our plans. And we came up with impact statements and action items to say, this is how we're going to do it. What each member of each jurisdiction has kind of the sphere of influence to work on. They're going to take this on, work on it by a designated time and with specific partners. So that is the kind of groundwork for how this group is going to move forward. We're meeting again in May to kind of lead to continue this work. But a couple of key insights from the day that I wanted to share are, like every table really highlighted this disconnect between planning and implementation and kind of getting stuck. It's easy to write a lot of plans and potentially not really reckon with what it is to commit to what it takes to implement those plans. So that's kind of this thing about the vision, right? And then leading into the planning phase. And also, I heard from some tables that, the projects take a really long time. So even though we know that an area is, hazardous, floods a lot, the community might be seeing multi-family housing going up in that area because it was entitled 10, 15 years ago. And it just takes a while for projects to get in place. So that kind of leads into the second insight of the meaning of education. Education came up a lot at all of our tables where we were talking about, how are we educating the public? What does that mean? It can mean a couple of things with the transparency of why we make decisions in government and how those decisions are made and what the trade-offs are, kind of explaining what that is, but also the discussion of, we've been doing so much outreach, right? We have so many, and we'll talk about all the outreach events that we're doing later this week. But what is the message, and how are the stories kind of weaving together, and how can we create a narrative together so we're all kind of talking in the same way about the same things. The other issue or concern that came up was this trust deficit. Being both a delivery problem and a storytelling problem. So the delivery problem being implementation. If we're not kind of showing projects on the ground being implemented, there's not really any incentive for the public to trust what we're doing because they're not seeing any progress on the ground. And then that leads into, again, the storytelling problem of, well, how do we explain the decisions that are being made and kind of be more transparent in that? And then, of course, capacity and equity compounding outcomes. So different municipalities have different levels of capacity, and that leads to different levels of increasing resilience. So those are a couple of the insights that first came out from the collaborative. And I welcome any of you all to share your insights as well. I know Kristen, Sally, and Stuart, and Allie were all there. So what, do you all have any thoughts off the top of your head? Any early insights?
I'll go. And, I think probably the most important thing is to reflect that prior to 2021, no one in this state had either a sustainability plan or a climate plan. And although the Office of Resilience was created in the state, nobody has done anything to bring people together. So when you think, those of us that were there on February the 9th, or whatever, how important that was. It was people came and for the first time, oh, a similar other, and saying, we're going to be able to work together to get something done. And people started to share casually, oh, I'm doing this in Owendale, or we actually had 2 communities outside of Charleston County, Somerville and Goose Creek, that had representatives there. And people said, we can work together to get things done. And it's amazing. And it's only 5 years. Just think what it's going to be like in another 5 years, working together, whatever we call ourselves. But we all know that we need to become more resilient in dealing with the issues that surround us all the time. So it was absolutely fascinating to participate and watch the enthusiasm. I think it's probably very important, the enthusiasm of everyone being there. Nobody walked away saying, why am I here? Because I want to be here. That made a difference.
Yeah, I'll chime in. I think I mentioned this kind of in the post-event survey, was that last exercise with the municipalities where we sat down and developed those impact statements. I felt like that was, as a non-municipality, that was very impactful, that, we could, a couple of like minds around one municipality, could sit there and help them develop, an impact statement that could be implemented. It wasn't an impossible feat, but it was something that they could really, with other people saying, well, hey, maybe try it this way, or you do this. I felt like that was this really, really impactful exercise, and I hope that each table left with something like, okay, we can do this. So I thought that was a great exercise for everyone.
Was back in May.
Remember what you said you were going to do?
Yeah. We sat at the same table with we do work around the town of Allendale, but just to hear it from them, some of the challenges that they're currently facing, making these connections with people. We kind of work around all these people, but I think even people there learn some new connections and new things that can help them in their positions. And
about a week later, there was a resilience forum, would you say, or in Allendale?
Yes.
And I went just to show support, and the enthusiasm that's there. But I want to go back to one thing that we've talked about. We had the symposium in November because we had talked about education. I think we need to keep that at the forefront. We've talked here before that people don't know what we're doing, and that's part of the storytelling problem. So the challenge is, how do we take this message and take our role, and even with Mika from the city, how do we take our roles together and be able to go out to the communities and maybe not have a symposium, but maybe have a variety of workshops in different parts of the community of the county to share what we're doing and get input from other individuals. But that education is really significant, and we really should try to concentrate on it.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely something we're trying to think about, how to incorporate that education either in additional workshops or in convenings that are already happening, seeing how we can kind of dovetail with other efforts. But Allie, did you have any thoughts? Or
no, I want to echo a lot of the same things that everyone said. I was at the same table as Kristen and Sally as well. It was a really good table. Yeah. But that fostered a lot of great conversations, and I think especially because the representative from Awanda just started his position. I think it was really helpful for him to kind of meet some of the players he might be interacting with a lot. And it was also really great to see everyone address and understand how interdisciplinary this work is. It takes a lot of different folks in a lot of different areas like planning and emergency management and just a wide range of expertise in order to fully understand and tackle some of these more complex issues such as flooding. So it was really nice to have those discussions.
Absolutely.
And I like what you said in terms of going out to the community instead of the big symposium. We did that.
Yes.
Now going out and saying, here's what we're doing. And here's some of those things.
And well, you're absolutely correct, because the symposium led to the forum, and the forum is going to continue going. And I think you're going to see what we saw in Albany happen everywhere else. The mayor of Albany was so ecstatic about us being there. And I mean, so it was important. Yeah, you're right.
Where we go from here. That's it.
Yeah, and that's it. Where do we go from here? So what we said at the end of the day was that the Charleston Resilience Collaborative will be a place to maybe not centralize data, but hold data in a repository to give every municipality access to the same baseline information, so decisions are comparable, transparent, and equity driven. It's basically letting everyone use the same data to make their informed decisions. Of course, coordinating projects, we talked a lot about that during the day, how we can align our projects to leverage what each other are doing, especially when it comes to funding. Supporting implementation, providing technical assistance where that's needed, so we can again leverage each other. And then measuring results. This is where we kind of landed at the end of the day of how to come up with some common standard ways to measure resilience. And whether that's through a kind of a project lens or metrics that are based on the vulnerability assessment data. We talked about a couple different ways of how to develop those metrics, but that's going to be a next step for this collaborative. So we're reconvening in May. We'll disseminate the findings from the accelerator workshop to the larger group, and then really identify what strategies we're going to move forward with. We are going to be taking a deep dive into the vulnerability assessment data and offering trainings to municipalities and county staff to use that ExcelAdapt data. So we're all kind of getting up to speed on what the data is, how you can use it, what it could look like if we did use it to inform decisions. A lot of the data it's layered with hazard vulnerabilities as well as assessor data, so it gives that dollar sign figure to what we're talking about, which I think makes things a little more tangible. So those are the big next steps for the Resilience Collaborative, and kind of the biggest kind of coordination piece for that. We've done a lot of that work already, but the real work I think is coming. And then I just wanted to touch quickly on the VOAD work, because I'm sort of seeing the VOAD as the kind of the human-centered, like the people-centered side of the resilience work, and the collaborative kind of stepping in as the more of the built environment, the physical environment, the ecology, and thinking about resilience from that perspective. And then it becomes more holistic when we have a couple different ways to look at it. So the Trident VOAD did support the winter weather response in January. We had coordination calls and actually fulfilled resource requests. So the VOAD kind of got to step into action here, which is very cool. And then just following that in February, we had a tabletop exercise to talk through how the VOAD would actually activate during a disaster. Got a lot of good discussion and kind of next steps there. They're meeting again in April. And we're also working with the VOAD to assemble heat kits and distribute them this spring through the libraries. So this is sort of an activity where the VOAD can really step in and figure out how are we going to solicit donations, how are we going to collect and assemble and then distribute them. Kind of relatively low stakes kind of prep for how this might look if we were to have a major disaster where the BOAG would be stepping in as the kind of central place for donations. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that the governor did designate March 8th to the 14th this week as South Carolina Severe Weather and Flood Safety Week. So today is every day from Sunday to Saturday, I guess, is the they're focusing on one topic area. And so today's topic area is all about information sharing and communication and making sure you're signed up for alerts and that you have a plan with your family. But I wanted to call out tomorrow's kind of topic of the day is this statewide tornado drill that they're doing at 9 a.m. And this is through the NOAA weather channels. And I think this is interesting because of the severe tornadoes that we saw in the northern part of our country in Michigan over the weekend. This is just kind of goes to show that what we always thought was our traditional hazards aren't going to be our traditional hazards anymore. So thinking outside of what we normally do with kind of flooding and hurricanes, but there's other things to kind of be aware of. So that's at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and there's a link there to see what else you might want to learn from Flood Safety Week.
Thank you. You know, two things here. Again, not everyone knows that heat is one of the major causes of death in South Carolina, and that's extremely important. Just as you want to know as a fact, years ago, the former director of emergency for Charleston County gave a presentation, and he said, you know, we have every natural disaster in South Carolina except one. You know which one? Dust storms.
Dust storms.
We don't have dust storms in South Carolina, but everything else, when you think about it, everything else. So I just thought that I was a little trivial.
Very dynamic environment. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. And so that's the end of my updates for resilience. We'll switch to sustainability. Okay. All right.
Alrighty, so I wanted to start off with an update for our State Energy Office grant, our EECBG grant, and this is focusing on residential weatherization and energy audits. So we have a photo of Derek, who is employed by Sustainability Institute, doing some work on one of our homes. Our current progress is we have 19 out of 20 energy audits done. We have 4 out of the 8 weatherizations done, and then 2 more are scheduled this week. So one is happening now, and then one will be happening tomorrow. And so I just wanted to give you a little case study. So as we're doing all of our audits and weatherizations, we are getting reports back. So for every energy audit, we get a report. Sustainability sends us a full detailed report on the home. And then after the weatherization work is done, we get that same report just post work. So we're able to try and see some of the differences and try and make those metrics more tangible. So if you see here, this is some of the beginning metrics of the home and some of the beginning photos. So the CO2 footprint was 3.9 tons. So that's the amount that the home was producing. And this audit estimated that the resident would see a savings of $313 per year, with an estimated energy reduction of 14.18%. And some of the proposed work, it is a grant, so we are working on more of a budget. The proposed work would be to secure that flood hood, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, upgrade lighting to LED, insulate the attic, and then to do air sealing, but only to 25%, because it's not recommended to do 100% air sealing on a home. So we were able to do weatherization the beginning of January, and these are some of the results we found in the post energy audit. So we were actually able to save 1 ton of CO2 emissions. So now we're at like two tons instead of that 3.9. And we were actually able to save the resident $406 per year. So that's over what we thought we were going to see. And we reduced energy savings to 17.83%. So we were able to kind of go past the initial estimates that Sustainability Institute had. And something to note too is that there was some additional work that needed to be done. So while they were doing the weatherization work, they did find a minor gas leak within the resident's home. So Sustainability Institute made sure to repair that and did another whole sweep and made sure that that home passed all the BPI health and safety criteria. So just to kind of put, we're not just saving energy and saving costs here, we're also trying to make these homes more healthy and safe for the residents involved. And this was actually really interesting because if you noticed in the previous slide, the attic had no insulation at all. So we were able to totally fill in that insulation in the attic, which really helped with some of those savings that the residents is going to see. So that's pretty much all on our grant. But now moving on to our sustainability plan report. This is our first ever report of the plan. It's kind of, we have the plan in order. So now what is following? So what were we doing after we adopted this plan and Molly and I were hired and we started getting to work? So you'll be able to see how the report is set up is some key highlights, highlighting some of our key accomplishments for our division. Then it goes down into what are the implementation strategies and initiatives happening within the county, some outreach events, then some key statistics on the county's electric vehicle program. So we do have 6 electric vehicles and both public and fleet chargers for the county. Then our Charleston compost. So we are now shifting to Charleston County leading this effort. It was originally created by the city in 2022, and they did an amazing job that so many people loved it and wanted to sign up. So it's just expanding a little bit beyond the city's reach. So that's why Charleston County is gonna start handling some of those things. As well as key sustainability projects happening this year. One of them is highlighting how the COG is doing their climate action planning. And then at the end, you're able to see the sustainability plan itself, as well as that interactive inventory that has 185 different projects happening throughout Charleston County with different organizations and municipalities, as well as how they may link to the plan and what area or initiatives, what implementation strategy it's hitting. So yeah, and then this will be accessible on our website as well after this meeting. So
have you been able to present this to council, or is that a possibility?
The newsletter itself, that we will give each council member one. We talked about that earlier, to make sure they get the update of what. And then at some point, yes, we will have to give the update on where we're at with resilience and sustainability to council.
Yeah, that I think that'd be appropriate since it took so long to get it through, but once it got through, let them know publicly what we're doing. And that goes back to what I said before about education.
Exactly.
You need to do it at a higher level. So if we could do anything about that, Kylan was here, I'd ask him specifically to go back and put it on the agenda.
We'll hit him up to put something on to give an update.
Okay, thank you.
But a lot of good stuff out there. We just gotta advertise it, just like the governor declared that time frame.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of silent, but we gotta kind of ramp it up a bit there.
Anybody have any questions for Alan?
That's all great. Thank you for doing all of this.
You said you have 6 vehicles now? It was 3, right? So you have 3 new?
So we have 3 from our grant from the state energy office. Then we have 2 leaves that we purchased prior to that grant that Ariel purchased. And then due to our rotation, our EV fleet rotation, the director of environmental management actually got an F-150 for his department because he enjoyed it so much. Yeah.
Our department has been able to use one of the leaf vehicles.
Oh,
So
Good.
yeah, enjoyed that.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're trying to push is for those departments that just need vehicles to drive around local areas to do their
Right.
jobs, to look at EVs. There's potential there. So,
Yeah. And we still have our Mach-E's in motor pool, which I think people are enjoying as well too.
and most of our new buildings, as they come online, we're plumbing and putting the conduit in for charging stations. The Azalea Complex, Teddy Pryor area.
Oh, okay.
and so
Great.
forth. So we'll start plugging those in.
And now we are going to shift it to Mika. She is going to be telling us about some of the exciting projects that the city of Charleston is doing, and potentially this can show some correlation on how the county and the city can kind of work together to implement some of our goals.
Well, thank you so much. I've benefited greatly from just listening to a lot of what was shared, and in the spirit of collaboration, I really do hope that that we'll continue to create spaces like today, because just like with the accelerator program, I learned a lot just by sitting with my colleagues. But good morning, Mika Gadsden here, the Director of Sustainability with the City of Charleston. And I won't be before you that long, but I'd like to just, as Allie just alluded to, just share a little bit about what I guess what has been my top priority over the last few months with regard to carrying out our commitment to our climate goals. And so one of those, I think one way we're showing or demonstrating our values and our priorities is with an initiative that Mayor Cogswell charged me with leading, which is Relief. And it's just quite basically a tree planting initiative. And so I wanted to start here because honestly, while there may be some reframing and fresh, maybe some fresh assets shared, a lot of the work that I've been a part of predates me and is led largely by our urban forestry team, which is a part of our parks department. So I can't I can't speak highly enough about the level of support that Clark DeSantis and his entire team has offered me. Their leadership has been instrumental in transforming Relief into from an idea into an impactful program. And I'll just read a little bit from the slide. By applying their deep expertise, knowledge, and steadfast commitment to established best practices as detailed in our City of Charleston's Street Tree Manual, which I encourage folks to please look up. They have successfully launched our first plantings at the Ashley Town Center Drive location. So basically what I want to say is that a lot of the work that we're setting out to do in terms of fortifying our existing canopy, but also making sure that the trees throughout Charleston receive the care and attention that they need to thrive. But also we're planning for a future, a more resilient Charleston, where we're really trying to invest in our green infrastructure. Next slide, please. The one way, I think one thing that Relief will illustrate that's not just amplifying and recognizing the work of urban forestry, I think the way we went about our decision-making was 100% informed by data. Not only was the our recent heat study data, which is, we have a heat study or tree canopy, we have the NOAA heat study. Also, we have our tree canopy story map available at the city's website. And a lot of those data points were used to help us identify where we could fortify our city's tree canopy. But not only that, the Parks Department underwent a tree survey, I believe in 2021. And a lot of that data, that ArborPro data, was very useful in understanding the current health of our trees throughout Charleston. So here, what you see is just two maps that were created by our GIS analyst, Casey Conrad, who has been instrumental in building out relief. This is just a snapshot as to how we assessed where need could be or where some goals that we had to set. Of course, this program, and especially in this first rollout, this pilot, won't be able to address all of the hot spots you literally see on the screen currently, but we need to be able to know where we can set goals and go about meeting the needs of those communities for a myriad of reasons, a lot that you all have already spoken to with other initiatives. So here you see on the left, it displays the possible available planting sites. And I just want to provide a caveat. There was a tremendous amount of data that needed to be refined, and having a capable GIS team is very helpful in doing that. And so we had some raw data from ArborPro. We refined it a little bit and overlaid it with heat study data to help us understand where our tree canopy, where the needs were to fortify our tree canopy. Next slide, please. Thank you. And as I mentioned, we kicked off Relief, this early pilot, with 18 live oak plantings, oak tree plantings across the Ashley Town Center Drive. If folks are not familiar, if you are familiar with Costco West Ashley, as I like to continue to mention, I don't know why, but if you are a shopper around that area, that drive, that Ashley Town Center Drive, extends beyond, of course, the shopping plaza and toward apartment complexes and whatnot. And there's this great walking path, and just it was an area that we identified that provided visibility, but also helped us figure out which trees were better suited for certain areas. The mayor himself is personally partial to oaks. Well, they don't work on a lot of streets, right? So you have to find the right pairings, and that's where having the leadership of urban forestry really comes into play. But again, this is just the beginning. We've also, and I guess you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. And this will be the last slide. But yeah, so the second set of planning already took place, and that was West Ashley Circle. So we had 14 trees added there, and we're working on a couple of additional locations, working with our utilities, working with other partners has been really critically important in finding out, or rather being able to actually plant trees. Sometimes the maps would show an opportunity that we just can't pursue for a myriad of complicated reasons. And that's been a challenge. But I will say that this pilot phase has taught us a lot, and we've course corrected and pivoted and adapted to those challenges. And I'm looking forward to not only growing Relief to where we can really hit those hot spots that you saw on the heat map, but also encourage engagement from community members who have private property or commercial property that wants to add trees. We want to be a part of that and help educate folks and empower folks and give them the best information to work with, because a lot of what the city is limited to as to how much they can accomplish, but hopefully we'll be able to empower others to do their part. I really want this to be a team lift with regard to residents, businesses, and our neighboring municipalities and other levels of government. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Does
Inga,
anyone?
thank you very much. As everyone knows, trees are nature's special way of healing and creating resilience. Shade, flooding, and so it really makes a difference. So we,
Thank you so much,
I don't
Mika.
think take what the city is doing and consider what we could possibly be doing on a county level. And that could be something that in May could be a project that almost every municipality can pick up on. And it's easy to do. Nothing is easy to do, I know that. But it's easier to do than some of the other things that we talked about. And it actually ends up, again, it's wonderful against flooding. It creates a canopy, not only for flooding, but also obviously for heat. One of the things that we've learned, and I think Mika alluded to, is that we found walkways or paths that are open, but there's no shade. We want people to walk there, but there's no shade. So what can we do? So that might be an interesting thing to make, talk about how each community can come up with a tree planting program.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And have a special goal, I don't know, of how many thousands of trees that can be planted in Charleston County in 2026 or 2027.
Yeah, and the program is sort of, Sally, already there in terms of funding. We have our tree fund that we use for various things. So, you can tie those two together. If you do X amount a year or whatever.
Yeah, we have had some internal conversations of like brainstorming how we could implement something similar to this or piggyback on this in some way. Haven't come up with a great solution for that yet, but we're definitely motivated to do something.
Thank you again, Mika.
Yeah, we'll keep those
Well,
conversations.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'd like to just say thank you. And I look forward to continuing conversation with Allie, with everyone, with Stuart, of course, and others.
Oh, you went mute.
Oh, we lost you, Mika.
We lost you.
Okay.
For a second. Bye.
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 Okay. All right. Well, we'll close out the meeting today talking about upcoming events we have and then the next meetings.
Yeah. So the fun part, I feel like, well, everything's fun, but upcoming events. So we have the Black Expo this Saturday, March 14th. The county is always really good at coming to the Black Expo and making a big show of all of our departments. So we're really excited. Resilience and Sustainability is going to have their own table this year. Last year we split a table because we were still in our developing stages, but we're ready to have our own table today.
Yeah.
So then, and then the following Saturday, we are going to be at the native plant sale in Mount Pleasant. So we are going to be partnering with Greenbelt. So it'll be myself and the Greenbelt team. And we'll have, we talked to the county arborist, so we'll have the recommended trees that the county recommends to plant. And then Thursday, April 16th, we have 2 events coming up. So we will be at the MUSC Earth Day Fair, and that is going to be at MUSC's downtown location from 11 to 2, and environmental management will be there as well. And then on that same day, we are partnering with the town of Mount Pleasant, the Charleston County Public Libraries and Sustainability Institute to do our first ever public energy savings workshop. So there we'll be able to provide resources to the public about tips and tricks on how to reduce their utility bill, as well as we'll be giving out some of our conservation kits. So our utility conservation DIY kits there.
What is that?
That is going to be at the Wando Library. And then finally, we have another anticipated compost facility tour, and that's going to be partnering with environmental management as well as McGill Compost. And that is going to be Saturday, May 16th. We are going to have 3 different tour times. We're just still working out what exactly those times will be. Most likely in the morning, starting around like, that's going to be at the Bees Ferry landfill site. Yeah. That is where the compost facility is also held. So yeah, we're really excited. We're still, we have some other things in the works talking about with different partners, but these are all the ones we have planned. We'll make sure to post these on our website, share with some of our partners, Coastal Conservation League said that they would share out some of our stuff as well. So we're excited.
Comments from members? Thank you very much. Do we have any public comments? You want to add anything, Adrian? Put you on the spot. Oh, hi, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you all. I know that I met with Molly and Allie in the last couple of weeks, but just wanted to reiterate, yes, we'll be sharing out that word shortly and we'll CC you prior to that communication. But yeah, just want to commend you for all the great work. This has been a great thing to tune into. Really looking forward to both the compost facility tour and the home energy savings workshop. And Noelle and I were just talking about all the work that Mika's doing with the Relief Project. All are such cool projects and have such cool tangible results. So yeah, looking forward to the future, and it's going to be a fun spring. Already feeling, a little springy myself with this warmer weather. So
Yeah, this would all be a good, if we got to package it a little tighter to give the council, say,
Yeah.
here's where we are.
Right.
Part of this.
That's true. That would be great. Anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you all. Good meeting.
Thank
Thank
you
you all.
guys. Thanks everyone.